Just remember, everything on here is just my opinion. It's not. You can take it for what it is. I'm not going to tell you what to say in the comments, or so you can't like badmouth anyone or anything. I don't give a fuck what you do in the comments. You know that. You can talk all the shit you want. You can talk shit about me. I don't really give a fuck. And remember, I don't do this for money, so please don't donate me any money. I don't need any. Bear with me. I had this perioral dermatitis outbreak thing on my face. I just got over it. It was driving me nuts for like 2 weeks. It was like this burning, itching. I knew I shouldn't have gone down on that fucking hot Peruvian girl. But I got complaints and stuff. And there's other things you guys gotta know. It's like well, first off, this isn't really a shout out to that fat fuck Gray Pubes, but I notice every time more information comes out exposing like the lies of the loop in the videotape, which we all know was a loop that was continued over and over again, or how times have been manipulated. That fucking real life Jabba the Hutt likes to bring out content that he doubles down on, like, and he always says exposed, like he exposed Brian Koberger's moments driving before the atrocity happened. But motherfucker, you never exposed nothing in your life. You're just speculating. And maybe Ashley Banfield, maybe she will mention you again about how you do such a great job with your 3D, whatever the fuck you call it, that looks like a fucking, like an ultra cheap version of fucking Minecraft. Like a 5-year-old did that on a fucking 1991 Mac. Or on fucking DOS. Having Ashley Banfield mention you, that isn't a flex in my book. That just shows you're a fucking idiot. But now that that's out of the way, if you look at everything that's been coming out though about like Brian Koberger complaining about bananas, and like the videotape, you remember it showed him in his cell, the first thing that came out. It showed him in his cell, and we can all pretty much agree that someone took that with a cell phone. When that video started, the amount of shaking that was in the very beginning, someone was outside the cell taking that fucking video. And then this last thing that came out with him saying that he's going to kill himself and putting slips in. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I got a job as a state prison guard here in Pennsylvania. This was way back before I was like on drugs or any of it. Well, I was on drugs at the time, just no one knew it. I was functioning, which I always did usually. But I was a state prison guard for 1 year. It's the worst fucking job I ever had. I absolutely hated it. It wasn't the inmates. I was fine with them. It was the fucking people I worked with. I just didn't fit that. I just wasn't officer material. I wasn't short, fat, with a shaved head and a mustache, and I wasn't there to punish those guys. I was respectful and tried to be nice to them, and I saw a lot of things happen there that I didn't like. Like if they didn't like a guy coming up for parole, a guy couldn't have any misconducts if he's coming up for parole. They wouldn't, if they didn't like a certain inmate and knew he's coming up, they'd make up something, and write a slip. I didn't agree with any of that shit. Me and the sergeant one time actually got into it because an inmate mumbled when he went by. He was just talking shit. It was nothing. And the sergeant said, "Oh, I think he threatened you." And tried to force, the sergeant, it got to where he was holding my hand down trying to force me to write a misconduct up on this dude who was coming up on, and he was coming up on parole, and I wouldn't do it. And then kind of, when you're that type of officer that's lenient and doesn't, want to fucking ruin those guys' lives anymore, it kind of puts you in a bad spot with the rest of them who do, And I just did a year there, and just one day after, I threw my fucking badge at the captain, who was this guy looked like he literally crawled out of a dumpster, this fucking captain. Like, about a fucking dirtbag. I threw my badge at him and said, "Fuck you, I quit." But that was the Pennsylvania State Department of Corrections. But I can tell you, one thing that can get you in trouble is, one of them's religion, Like if you fuck with any inmate's religion or their right to religion or anything they're doing, like you can't walk in their cell, one that's a Muslim, and step over him to do window and wall check or something, while he's on the rug, shit like that. But another one is bringing like their, whatever happens in the prison pertaining to them, bringing it out to the public and sharing it. That can cost you your job. It can get you in a lot of trouble. What happens in there, as far as shit like that goes, it stays in there. Inmates put misconduct or put complaint slips in every day. I mean, every institution, there's probably 100 or so that go in every day, inmates bitching about something. And there's always inmates threatening to kill themselves and all this shit. And the fact that they're coming out and they're saying all this, and the fact that they said they did their investigation of whoever took this video, that they couldn't find out who it was. When you're out there on the block, and to look in the cells, there isn't anywhere you can't go on that block outside of those cells that a camera cannot see you. That's total bullshit, and that they don't know who did it. I think they did it. I think they're preparing us for something, and I don't look for them to be alive much longer. I kind of see like all the complaining, the bananas, seeing the inmates, fucking have it in for him and saying he's going to hurt himself because he wants to move. I'm really honestly worried about him. I think they're going to kill him. Because it's not only that, the more of their lies that keep getting exposed and the worse they look. They've already done so much already. The only thing they have left to do to cover themselves is get rid of him, hoping that, well, if we get rid of him and he's out of the equation, maybe they'll all just stop and let it go. Well, if that happens, we can't ever let this go, ever. I won't ever say that I know Bry personally. I will never be able to say that I think he did that. The only way I would ever believe him that he did that is if I was sitting across from him and he told me a detailed fucking story or detailed version of exactly what he did if he did it. That's the only way I would ever think he did this or believe that he did. Other than that, it's all MPD, ISP, that prosecutor, him and his cow, the judge. It's fucking lies. And I think it's a lot of those students are fucking lying. I don't know if they're in on it or who was in on it, but I think that whatever's happening, it just ain't fucking right. It's bullshit. I have half a notion, I don't want any money, but I should start a GoFundMe to get plane tickets and just go out there for like 3 days and go to the prison and visit with him. Since he knows me, and maybe he'd visit with me just to see what they'd say, because there's a lot of things that just don't seem right about information that's coming out. And, he has his rights to visitation. Why not? That's it. That's all I gotta say. Everyone have a good night.